And here we are, and we want to talk about Slender Man. And people are wondering, who is Slender Man? What is Slender Man? That's a very good question. Slender Man came to prominence here recently when a 12-year-old girl in Wisconsin was held down by two of her girlfriends and was stabbed 18 times. 18 times? My goodness gracious, girls. 18 times. Obviously, you start stabbing somebody, it's not the way you thought it was going to be, because you stab somebody 18 times, those have to be hesitant, not that deep of stabs. I mean, I'm not the one getting stabbed, so I can say that. But point being that obviously these girls were under the influence of something beyond them. And we talk about the Slender Man. The Slender Man was actually a creation of very recent, he just came about recently, and I'm sorry, I'm trying to stumble through and do about 12 different things here tonight. But the Slender Man is only 10, 20 years old at the very most. The Slender Man came, he was actually a creation on a website that started a contest to go ahead and put in creepy images into pictures. It was called the Create Paranormal Images. It was on Something Awful's forum, and generally the Slender Man appears like a man in black, in a black suit, black tie, sometimes a red tie. His arms are abnormally long. He's 6 feet tall to 15 feet tall. Sometimes people see him with tentacles coming out of his back. Sometimes people don't see him with tentacles. Some people see him as just a hovering mass with tentacles. There's a few different descriptions of Slender Man, but basically what he does is he tends to stretch out his arms or those tentacles. He puts people under an effect, a malevolent force. There's a name for it. Makes you nauseous, makes you run away, and he takes people supposedly to another dimension or to some evil lair because they do not come back. And Slender Man is probably the quintessential urban legend it's a quintessential internet urban legend. It's a meme, M-E-M-E. Look that up on the internet if you want to figure out what that means. But he is the quintessential meme. He is the quintessential internet urban legend, and he's very, very young in his lifespan. I think 1990 is when I want to say that he was born, so to speak. And the question becomes, who is Slender Man? I think the better question is, what is Slender Man? I have some theories. I have some ideas about it, and I certainly want to say, first of all, that we have our thoughts and prayers go out to all the girls that were involved in that situation, and we certainly hope that it's something that that comes out as best as it can. And the one girl, of course, I think she is doing better, and the other two, they are in big trouble. Some people think that the Slender Man harkens back to some ancient type of occurrences and beings like the Fear Doob, or the Dark Man in Scotland, the Dutch Tonic-Man, and I'm getting a lot of this from Creepy Pasta Wiki and from the Slender Man Wiki. A lot of people think the German legend of Der Grossmann, or Der Grosse Mann, the Tall Man, is talking about Slender Man as well. And I tend to go with the latter interpretation there. I don't believe that Slender Man would just be a tulpa. If you want to know what a tulpa is, search through our shows here on Blog Talk Radio. We actually interviewed a live tulpa. Basically, enough people start thinking about and concentrating on something, and they can actually manifest that energy, and many times that energy will coalesce and become, believe it or not, a thought form or a being. I personally am of the opinion that Slender Man has not been around long enough to be able to exert the power that he does if he were an original thought form, if he were an original tulpa. I don't think that he could have manifested that much energy that quickly, because obviously he's not real. He was thought into form, if at all, by given, again, teenage kids. There's a lot of intent and a lot of energy going out. But I think it's far more likely that some low-level astral entity or a number of low-level astral entities, based upon the fact that there are different versions of the appearance of Slender Man, I think it's much more likely that one of them is slipping in and taking advantage of all this energy that is going out. They do feed, of course, these low-level astral entities. I'm talking now about the fire elementals that feed on human fear. And I mean, these poor little girls, they should have been watching Justin Bieber or doing whatever else 12-year-old girls do. Instead, they're being sucked into this horrible mess by the Slender Man. And what a creepy, wimpy piece of crap this entity is, to come down and feed and bother on the little girls. And it's probably a good idea for him to stick with the little girls, because if he starts going after people that have some spiritual intention, then it will not be good for him, and he will be taken to the justice hall. He will be dealt with most severely, and he'll find himself thrown back into the rubbish bin where he belongs. So, whatever spirit this is, or spirits that are coming in and taking advantage of this energy that's being put out, I like to put them on notice, at least from my end, and hopefully people of the shamanic realm and people of the strong realm of spiritual intention, people that know what they're doing, would also join me to say we will come against this entity and prevent him from doing any more of this damage. We're calling out the Slender Man and saying, you know what, we're not going to stand for it, because we're not 12-year-old girls. We are spiritual professionals, and we will take care of business if you want to come in and try to continue to do the harm that you are perpetrating. So that is from me directly to you, whoever you are, whatever entity you may be. Now, it's also possible he could be a jinn. A lot of times the jinn, he looks a lot like a shadow man in some instances. A shadow man is basically just a shadow, usually wearing a big hat, a long flowing type coat. Slender Man is and has been on several occasions described as looking just like that. He could also be a stick man. A stick man is, of course, I'm most familiar with it from the Native American legends, and it basically is a stick-like man walking around. And again, on some occasions, Slender Man has been identified and described as a stick man. So is he a tulpa? I don't think that he's an original tulpa. He may in fact be a tulpa that is swooping in, I guess I should say, and taking advantage of the energy that's being put out. That's very possible. However, I don't believe he's an original tulpa. I don't give him that much credit. So there is some creepy, low-level astral degenerate swooping in and taking advantage of the energy that's being put out, and promoting and continuing its worthless existence by sucking up that energy and scaring little girls into giving it more. That's pretty much my take on what the Slender Man is. Now, is he a jinn? I don't know that he would be a jinn. Now, when you get into the world of jinn, the jinn is mainly an Islamic type of a manifestation. They say some of them are followers of Islam, some of them are not. Clearly, if this were a jinn, it would not be a Islam jinn. They tend to at least have some honor. This entity or entities that are swooping in, taking advantage of this energy, clearly have no honor. So I would personally rule out the jinn. A shadow man, maybe a shadow man entity is swooping in to take advantage of this type of energy. I'm not real up on the shadow man's morality or code of honor. If you want to call, it's 347-237-5406, and you can ask a question. If you would like to tweet me, you can tweet me at NC Kabbalah, and I will try to remember to go over there every now and again and look at the feed and see if there's any questions being asked. And let's just take a quick look. Oh, my good friend Alexei from Russia says good morning, and of course I sent back good evening. The Eskimo, S. Ray, Yim Sage, Donna McGarry, Renee, again Alexei, Yoda, Terrell, Ni Puta, Ni Santa, that sounds dirty, I don't know if I should have said that on air. Yogi Q, MR Nat, Green for Life, thanks for shouting out the show. But you know, a lot of people go back into the fact that he does look like and resemble those ancient entities, and it's very possible that some of those ancient entities, you know, as you come down through, like on the Brazil, and there's some cave paintings in Brazil that present an entity that looks like the Slender Man. There's even in Egyptian hieroglyphs, there's an entity that kind of looks like Slender Man. Some of the German woodcuts look like they could be Slender Man, or again, Der Grossmann, the tall man. Even in Romanian mythology, they have a tall man. And sometimes in England also, there's a guy called Tree Man. So, you know, as these things used to be feared, there used to be a lot of energy for them to feed on, but as we've grown and matured as individuals and as a society, we tend to fear these type of entities less and less and less, so their power wanes and wanes and wanes, and no one's believing in them, no one's worshiping them. It's very interesting if you saw the last Clash of the Titans movie, how the two gods, I remember which ones they were, kind of melted away, dissolved, because no one was worshiping them anymore. And that is quite realistic as to the nature of what happens to these astral beings, these beings that perpetrate other realms of existence, when they stop receiving the energy, the love, the praise, or even the fear, depending on what they feed on, of human beings. So it's very, very possible that some of these old beings that have been mentioned in relation to Slender Man could actually be, in their weakened state, desperate enough to swoop in and try to pick up and take advantage of and perpetuate their existence through capitalizing on this new surge of intention and energy that is going out for this type of a thing, and it being relatively close to their original state. Well, I can see where it would cause them to once again come back and say, hey, look, you know what? We are going to take advantage of this, because the question is, are we going to die? Or are we going to take advantage of this? So I think some of them do choose to take advantage of what they are able to take advantage of. They swoop in, take advantage of the fear, and that's kind of what they're doing possibly in this instance. So again, I want to talk to you about how to defend yourself from the Slender Man should this him attempt to come in and fight you, or come in and try to do its thing on you. I want to give you an idea of how to fight that, and we'll do that in just 1 minute. And I wanted to make you aware of a special offer that we have on www.imnck.com. Well, hello folks, Jeffrey Daugherty here. Just talk to you real quickly about the books of the month. This month, for the month of June, we have two great offerings for you. Number one is the spiritual wisdom of Napoleon Hill. Now, many of us know Napoleon Hill as a great business teacher. Many of us know Napoleon Hill as a great self-help pioneer, and he certainly was. But what many of us don't know, and what I did not realize until writing this book, was that in Think and Grow Rich, which is his classic book, it is filled with a wealth of spiritual knowledge. So what I've done in this ebook is gone through Think and Grow Rich page by page and pulled out the spiritual wisdom and listed it for you in the book. It makes a great book to pick up and read on a day-by-day basis. It makes a great book to pick up and read cover to cover. I think you'll really enjoy it. The Spiritual Wisdom of Napoleon Hill, $3.92. You can order right below. We also have this month Rocket Man, The Crazy Life and Work of L. Ron Hubbard. And of course, it is not an official publication of the Church of Scientology. It's written by yours truly. And I think it is, without a doubt, the most objective book ever written about L. Ron Hubbard. Talks about who he was, talks about what he did, and of course talks about the Dianetics and Scientology thing that I think really got away from him a little bit, to be frank with you. But it talks about how his nickname was Brick, talks about how he fired, as a commander of a U.S. naval vessel, he fired on Japanese submarines off the coast of Oregon in the 40s. And he was also hand in hand in the formation of NASA, believe it or not, and the opening of the UFO era in the United States, believe it or not, and was called by a master of thelemic magic the most thelemic person I've ever met. So the guy was very, very fascinating, and it's a book well worth the read. Also, $3.92, I believe it is. So Napoleon Hill, The Spiritual Wisdom of Napoleon Hill, Rocket Man, The Crazy Life and Work of L. Ron Hubbard, $3.92, I believe, each, or get them both for just $5.99. Those are your books of the month, and as always, I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, wishing you peace and light. Well, there you have it, folks, the books of the month. I welcome you to take advantage of those. You can find those on our website, www.imck.com, and you can always reach us there and talk to us there. And I am still answering all of the mail. I'm still talking to everyone that wants to talk. I'm still visiting with everyone that wants to visit. I don't know how long we can continue to do that, but at this time, that is still what we're trying to do. So let's just recap real quickly on Slender Man. Slender Man is a shadow man type, a stick man type, a jinn type. He is reminiscent of some ancient legends from around the globe, and basically he looks like a man in black, wearing a black suit. Sometimes he does appear to have a tie on, either a black tie or a red tie. His face is generally seen as featureless or as being covered with gauze bandages. He walks around with his hands politely behind his back, I read somewhere, or just with them dangling at his side. And the whole thing is that he kind of stalks you, he kind of follows you, and then it's usually in the woods. He'll put out those arms, you fall under the sleepy effect or the sleepy sickness, and then allegedly he takes you away. That's why some people have speculated that he's an interdimensional being, and I guess that could be as well. But I really think it's probably low-level astral entities that are swooping in to take advantage of the energy that's being projected and the intention that's being projected and the fear that's created. That's what they live on, that's what they eat on, and that is in all likelihood exactly what's going on. So the big thing is, if you're confronted by something that looks like the Slender Man, the one thing they feed on is fear. And it's very unlikely that he's able to touch you physically. Coming from the astral to our realm, the energetic demand is huge, so it's likely nigh impossible. He's either pulling you into the astral, or he's projecting what's called an astral screen. It's like putting down a movie screen and projecting on it, making you think he's there when he's really not. So all they're really after is your fear, not your flesh, so don't worry about that. So anything that will not be fearful will repel them. Of course, if you can muster up positive energy, balanced energy, love energy, happy energy, laughing energy. I know that's pretty tough when you have a entity bearing down upon you, but the easiest, most effective form of protection I've found, and I always forget this gentleman's name. I heard him on Coast to Coast. He was on Coast to Coast either right before or right after I was. And I talked with him on the phone, I believe, maybe email, and he shared with me a technique that I have called the silver bullet of spiritual defense. I didn't think one of these existed, but it's a very simple process. It's called the hue. Whenever you're confronted by any type of a malevolent spiritual force, you know, whether you think if it appears to you as aliens, if it appears to you as what you would call a demon, a devil, as it appears to you as a jinn, if it appears to you as a slender man, a stick man, whatever it appears to you as, I encourage you to just employ the hue. And when you see it, when you feel it, all you do is you do this. Listen to me, it sounds silly, but it works fantastic. It's called the hue. It goes like this. Hue, hue. So just take a big deep breath, give as many hues as you can. It'll run the thing out. The reason why it does is because it creates a very high vibration frequency. Those of you that are able to see auras will note that when you do the hue, if you close your eyes or look into the spirit, you can see the colors of the crown chakra and the third eye chakra being broadcast out as you do the hue. You can feel the vibration in your upper levels, you know, through your third eye chakra and above, you know, as opposed to the Om, which of course is much more of a heart type of a mantra. Nothing wrong with that, but I wouldn't recommend doing that when the Shadow Man or the Slender Man is after you. I would I would do the hue, and it's very simple, very easy. Hue, hue, and that will cause them to flee. They can't stand the high vibration. They can't stand the high chakra vibration that puts out. It's the opposite of fear, and they will flee, whether they be Slender Man, whether they be an entity pretending to be Slender Man, or whether it be some other type of spiritual scumbaggery, to use a Vinnie Eastwood term, that is trying to mess with you. So it's very simple, very easy. That will be very effective for you. So now you know what Slender Man isn't. You know what Slender Man is, and you know how to defend yourself against Slender Man or any other type of spiritual entity that comes against you. It sounds silly, but trust me, it works, and it works like a champ. So remember the hue, hue, and that is your best defense in the face of any type of spiritual attack. Tomorrow night I'll be back on the air. I'm planning to talk about how to outwit the devil with Napoleon Hill. And until then, as always, I am Jeffrey Daugherty, and I'm wishing you peace and light. Well, folks, that would be the end of the Blog Talk radio show. I'm not totally certain that we were able to go ahead and get the video program to work. I see it. It says it's live. I just have to do some more work because I'm not sure that it's actually going over to the website, because as I go ahead and move over to my website, I notice that I am not seeing the broadcast there on the site, so I don't know that the broadcast is going out. I don't know that it's going out on a live basis. And I've got to be frank with you, I don't know why. So we're going to do our best between now and tomorrow to get that figured out, because I know some of you do like the videos. Many of you do like the audios. So we're trying to make everyone happy. We're trying to do something that is conducive for everyone. But because I don't know if anyone's even watching this or listening to this, I'm going to go ahead and put on my halo and wish you peace and light. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty. We'll see you tomorrow.